Hi, welcome to Handful Players. I'm Lanie, and now that you've seen a shadow puppet show, let me show you how you can make shadow puppets out of things you probably already have around your house. Almost all of the puppets that you saw in the puppet show earlier were made out of cardboard. Things that I just found in the recycling, like oatmeal boxes, pizza boxes, lots of different food container boxes. So go on a scavenger hunt through your recycling. You can use anything that looks interesting. I made the boat for the show out of just a food container lid. Here's a couple of examples of the puppets that you saw in the show, and all of these were made from recyclable materials I found around my house. We've got the bird, the butterfly, the fish, and the dragon, and they're all made with just cardboard, colored paper or colored plastic, and tape. So let's learn how to make some. To make the colorful parts of our puppets that you saw shining through in the light, there's a few ways to do it. Of course, you can just leave it white, leave an empty hole like I did for the eye here for just white light to shine through. But if you want to make some colors, you can look around in your recycling. You might be able to find one of these from an envelope, and you can color on that with a marker. You're gonna need to use a Sharpie marker though, a permanent marker, to make that last. Another way to do it is to get some wax paper, and you're gonna wanna do this in a place that you can make a mess. What I did, kind of like a stained glass look, I had wax paper, had glue. This is some school glue, but you can also find a recipe on the Handful Players website. And then you're gonna need a paintbrush. You can use a regular paintbrush if you make sure that you wash it afterwards so you can use it again. I like to use the foam ones. And we're gonna take a little bit of the glue and put it right there onto our wax paper. Just a little bit because we don't want it to dry out. And then we're gonna take some tissue paper and rip it into some pieces. And you're gonna stick it right on there, however you like, whatever colors you like. Rip it a couple more. And I'm gonna do some cool colors, just like I did for my fish. All right, and when you fill it all up, you put a little bit more glue on there and just keep filling up the paper until it looks really nice. Now you're not gonna cut it until it's all completely dry. So I did this the day before and let it dry. A couple hours before is fine too. And then you'll see what we do in the next step. All right, to make our shadow puppets, we're just going to use cardboard. So I like to gather things from the recycling because you probably have a lot of cardboard around the house. You can sketch on some white paper if you want, or you can sketch directly onto the cardboard. Let's do a little bird. I recommend sketching with a pencil so you can erase, but I'm gonna go ahead and sketch directly with a pen so that you can see really well. And I'm gonna make a little bird. So here we go. Start here with his tail feathers and go up on his back and his head here, down to his beak, and all the way over here to his little feet. Just got his front part of his feet and his back part. And I don't worry too much if my first sketch needs, I might want to change my first sketch. But my first sketch is just to kind of get the shape down. You can see that my little bird. Now, we can do some straight feathers like this. Or if we want to make him a little fancy, like the bird we saw in the puppet show, he had some fancy curly feathers. Now, if you're doing something like curly feathers, it's going to be a little bit harder to cut. So you'll always want to be thinking about that. What is your level of cutting ability? It takes a lot of practice with scissors. And you can always make one a little simpler and then try another one a little more complicated later. So I've got some curly feathers there for him. It can add a little bit of something to have some cutouts in your puppet for the light to shine through. So I'm gonna go ahead and make an eye for this bird, okay? And remember, this is just our sketch, so we can always change it later. But here's my eye here for my bird. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out, and I'll show you an easy way to do that. And when I'm cutting it out, I might decide that I want it to look a little different. So I actually cut off his little back foot. So I know that I want a back foot on there, but I cut a little bit far. So I'm gonna go ahead and make one as I'm cutting this out. Okay, that just means his foot is a little different shape than I had sketched it originally, and that's okay. See, I did it with the other one too. Okay, so his foot ended up a little bit bigger, but I think I like that. The curly part, that's the hard part. That might be something that you want to save for a later puppet, maybe not one of your first ones. All right. Because we have to be so careful with those details, or they're easy to cut off. And if you cut off, it's okay. You can always tape it back on. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm gonna cut around each one of those. All right, now to do the cutouts for the eye, one way to do it is to punch a hole in there. I used a screw and then poked my scissors in there, but that can be a little bit challenging. I would say that's an advanced technique. So another really easy way to do it is to go ahead and cut straight into the bird. I'm gonna cut out these little triangle parts of the eye. Okay, and we be really careful so we don't wanna cut too much. So I'm cutting out this first triangle here. Okay, so I cut out the first part and you can see, so I've got a hole right there. But I also have a flap right here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and tape that back together when I'm all done. And now we're gonna do the other one. You do wanna be a little bit careful with this because you don't wanna make too much that you have to tape back together on these intricate little details. There we go. So we're gonna go ahead and take some of our tape and I'm gonna just tape on the back here. Now remember, these are shadow puppets. So unless you're gonna you can get a little bit fancy with it and paint them, but you can also just keep it in shadow and we will never know that there's tape on the back of that. Your puppets can really be a work in progress. So you don't have to have it exactly how you want it to be when you put on your first show. It can always be something that you work on tomorrow or the next day, and you can get your collection going and keep working on it. This one I might want to paint eventually. Here's the butterfly from the show. So once I got the sketch, I went ahead and cut out all the spaces where I wanted to see color coming through. And I cut carefully. You can use the method we talked about before where you tape back parts of it if you need to. It's always okay to make mistakes, and you can always start a new one if you need to. Once we've got it all cut out, we're ready to add our colors. So we're seeing how much space we need. We're going ahead and taping part of the butterfly onto the paper after we've cut the first part. And then we want to cut around the rest of the puppet and tape as we go so that our colored paper sticks to the back of the cardboard. And you can carefully cut your details and just keep going around, taping the colored paper onto the back of the butterfly. The next thing we need to do is create the rod or the stick to hold the puppet. So the easiest way to do is to find some of your cardboard pieces that have a flap already made from where the box bent together. And you get 2 strips. I put them together so that they formed a T. So both of the flaps were going out. And I taped it together so it was really nice and thick. And now I'm gonna take my part that's a T and I cut it down so it would be the same shape as my butterfly body. And I'm gonna take a little bit of tape it right on there. And it needs to be really secure, so you might have to do a couple. You're making sure that the tape is covering the cardboard and attaching to the puppet. So right there, it wasn't attached yet, so we need to attach a little bit more tape. Okay, let's see how sturdy it is. Now that you've finished your puppets, you need to make some props or set pieces. And I made most of mine out of cardboard as well. This one is cardboard, and then the plastic I was talking about, I colored with a permanent marker. And if you take really good care of your set pieces, your props, this one I made just last week. This one I made about 12 years ago. I had to put some skewers on here, some little wooden pieces to make sure it was stable enough. But if you take really good care of them, you can keep them around for a long time and do a lot of puppet shows. So now that you have all of your props and your set pieces and your puppets, let's go put on a puppet show. I hope you had fun learning how to make shadow puppets. I hope this gives you lots of ideas for some shows of your own. Don't forget to go check out A Magical Adventure Shadow Puppet Show if you haven't already. I also have a video up about a peek behind the scenes, which will show you a little bit more about how to put on a show, and another video about shadow puppets from around the world. See you soon.